Guys, welcome back to Powerstroke Boys. Today we're going to be working on a cool little project. This is a thing called an injector test box, breakout box, junction box, injector kill box, whatever you want to call it. Essentially what it is, it's a project box with 8 switches, 1 per cylinder on the 7.3 Powerstroke being a V8. And these switches allow you to intermittently kill that injector on that particular cylinder. Ahead and decided to go with this style rocker switch because I like these. They're nice and heavy duty. 3-prong and they light up so you know they're on and off. Got a cheap little project box, okay? You can see I had to cut out the little studs that hold the cover on, but that honestly holds itself in there pretty good. And I can always put some Velcro or just some duct tape or something to hold that cover on if I want to. You can get project boxes where you don't have to hack the little studs off again to hold the cover on, but this project box I got locally, 12 bucks. I didn't feel like waiting to order one online. This box is 6.5 inches long. I think it was like 3.5 or 3.25 wide, something like that. I can't remember, but long story short, find your center point, make marks. And if you guys are going to do 8 switches, you need 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Got my center punch. We're going to go ahead and where all these crosshairs are, we're going to go ahead and drill a pilot hole. And then we're going to step up to a 7/16 bit and then hopefully up to a 1/2 inch outside. Those will all go there like this and they'll be straight, perpendicular with each other. And then I got this cheap Pelican case from Harbor Freight using a 15% off coupon. This will house the project box with the wiring. Probably gonna make it about 3 feet, 4 feet, so you can, be over the fender of the truck. You don't have to be way over here straining your back. Got the switches all mounted in, a ground, a load, and a supply, right? You guys could easily use a little metal toggle switch that are a 2-pin, where basically the circuit comes in, circuit comes out, and you guys are just interrupting it. But I like the idea of the injectors to be on and off with the LED. So I'm going to wire this up so when the injectors are on or pulsating, the LED is going to be on, but when you kill that cylinder, the injector will be dead and the injector will not be firing. The universal off Amazon. This is 18 gauge wire. Now everything else is going to be factory glow plug wiring harnesses, or the factory UVC harnesses are actually 14 gauge. Just make that out. You guys can see that says 14 AGG. That means 14 gauge wire. Thinking outside the box, this is a standard OBD2 port. Okay guys, we have 8 switches. That is in turn 16 wires, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, right? We need 1 wire coming in, 1 wire going out for the basic circuit to kill the injector. Now to do this, to keep the box nice and clean, again, I went ahead and glued on this little bracket here, and this OBD2 port is 16 pins, as you guys can see. All right, so this is going to sit inside the box. You guys get the idea, but it's going to be clipped in here, all right? And then we're going to use a top row. We're going to use 1 row of wires for one side of the switch. The other row of wires will be the wires coming out. And obviously we'll have a male to connect in this female, and that will be the side that gets hooked up to our inversion harness at the 42-pin connector side. Go ahead and cut the harness part off the truck. This would be coming up behind the brake master cylinder. This is from the engine harness side of the actual engine harness, okay? This is where the two connect and meet at the driver's side valve cover. You have the engine side, this is the truck side. Well, obviously in this particular application for this, what we're doing, we're going to have to flip these around, obviously. But a little piece of advice for you, get as much length wire as you guys can from the truck side and then also from the engine harness side. You guys can go through the pain and the prosperity of taking these pins out, soldering a new wire to them, but I'm not gonna do all that. This is for my own sake, and if I mass produce these, obviously I would start with fresh pins, but really to save time and effort, just solder the wires here. They're already color coded. It's a no-brainer, really. I've done it plenty of times. Is it ideal? No, but for a test tool you might use every once in a blue moon, it's perfectly fine. As long as you have good solder connections, heat shrink, wrapped up in tape. It's no different than pulling the pin out, depinning it, and having to decrimp it. Or you can go to ProSourceDiesel.com and spend $100 just for the connector, which I refuse to do. When I got a whole box of these from LKQ for $100, I think I got like 15 of these 42-pin connectors. Yeah, and so they're nice to have one if you need it for a customer's truck or building shit like this. So I believe this is a stock style harness because it even has Ford Motorcraft part numbers stamped all over this. So I'm going to say this is a factory engine wiring harness. Well, it was till I cut it off. And if you guys look, okay, so this is the orientation, how to tell the injector pins. You have your little notch here at the 12 o'clock, and you have another notch here at the 3 o'clock, and then you guys have your big rectangle cutout there at the bottom. So orientate it like that, okay? So you have 1, 2, and 3. I went ahead and cleaned this out so you guys could see. These pins on the bottom, these 8 here, there's some at the bottom, and then the 3 at the top. These are the 8, and then the 2 right here in the top left corner. This is for the passenger and driver side 120 volt wires, because these injectors fire off 120 volts. That's why this stuff is wrapped in, you know, caution tape, essentially. If you peel back the wiring loom, Ford already puts these together and wraps these in anti-static tape, so no electrical interference interferes with the drivers from the IDM. You guys can see everything else is your sensors, and then here's your injector wiring. They couldn't make it any easier for you. And literally, if you guys want to verify the pins, flip it upside down, and there's your 8 connections for your injectors. All the wiring's done. You guys can see 16 wires, everything is black. Doesn't really matter. This was the cheapest roll I could find of 18 2-gauge. Is what I'm using. 18 gauge is plenty. 18 gauge is actually the same size the factory wiring is, so you always want to at least go the same size, if not one size up. But for these contact points on this OBD2 port connector here, they were so small, 12 gauge was just not going to cut it, so that's why I ended up using 18 gauge. And you can see everything's soldered, everything's heat shrunk. Some of them got a little extra hot there, but honestly not worried about it. And then we have 3 foot of wire there. And then I'm going to go ahead, put these nice little plastic covers over the OBD2 plug, just like that. All right, you guys, the connector side is all done, insulated. Everything is numbered. We got cover on, enlarged the hole back here, wrapped in some electrical tape. Everything got heat shrunk at the contacts. That's 1/2-inch wire loom, all right. That's injector related. Everything else on the top, that is sensor related. So go ahead and just set that to the side like that. And then you guys see they wrapped it in this tape here. And then we have the same color coordination as the male and the female side. So I'll be able to just wire that, one wire to that, then the other wire coming here. And then I could shrink this a little bit, which I might, because I don't need this to be that long. We've got both of our 120 volt injector wires per side. We have a left and a right there. And then everything else here is the injectors. I mean, there's literally one wire, which is just the positive. The wiring, this is very simple. Again, the bottom wires are all 8 injectors, and then this blue one up here is your 8th. So you have 7 on the bottom, then your 8, and then these 2 here are just your 120 references, all right? And then we're basically just going to loom it like this, so you guys are starting to get the idea on how the harness is starting to look, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, tape all this up, and then all this stuff will get loomed itself, and then we'll come in here and just color code everything else together. And obviously I left these extra long for this, and it's very, very simple to make this actually. All right, you guys, well, that's how you build your own 7.3 Powerstroke injector, kill box, test box, whatever you want to call it. Very easy, very straightforward. It can help the blue-collar working man save some money, self-diagnose your truck. You don't have to have any big fancy tools, and you don't have to spend the $300 to $400 people want for these boxes. I built this for less than $50. So thanks for watching, guys. Remember, leave a like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.